Hey, hi everybody. It's Leslie Dale with the TFP, and I'm here today trying to talk about something a lot of you men don't want to talk about. So, Steve, do you want to talk about prostate cancer?
No.
Steve, prostate cancer. You wrote the story here.
Guys don't want to talk about this. Leslie,
It's important.
it is. It's absolutely important, and that's one of the problems. Is nobody wants to talk about it because it's sensitive.
Yeah.
It's stuff that really bothers us, and that's one of the biggest problems. The thing I didn't know: prostate cancer. 1 in 6 men will get prostate cancer. 1 in 6 women get breast cancer. 1 in 8 guys know all the attention breast cancer gets, and yet prostate cancer just doesn't get that much attention.
And women are naturally more into maybe checking on their health and talking about it with each other, and getting that out there. And guys,
I had 2 guys, very, very good, came forward to talk about their prostate surgery, and one of them said it was the John Wayne syndrome. We don't have problems. Guys don't have problems. But here's the problem with prostate cancer is the information people have had is it affects your sexual performance and it affects incontinence.
if you get treated,
If you get treated, that's what will
the fear.
happen. The fear is that that's what happens. And
Okay.
Dr. Lee Jackson, really good doctor out at CHI Memorial,
Okay.
was very clear about that. He said, first place, most guys when they get prostate cancer are 65 and older, but not all by any means. But first place, as you get older, you're going to have some of those problems anyway. That's just going to be there. 5-10% of us are going to have those problems. But he said only about 5% of the time are those problems long term. Short term, absolutely. Absolutely short term, the first month maybe, you're going to have those problems.
Okay.
But the key thing is that prostate cancer is very much going to kill you. It is the second leading cancer killer for men after lung cancer. And I think a lot of guys don't know that. They've always heard about, well, if you have prostate cancer, it takes a long time. It doesn't necessarily take a long time. It can be slow and suddenly speed up. And absolutely, you can catch it. The 2 guys I talked to from the story, one was in his 40s and one in his 50s. And
Okay.
both of them had it.
how are they doing?
They're doing fine, appear to be. One's 3 months after surgery and one is about 14 months.
Were they pretty candid about the after
very
effects
much,
of everything?
very much. Good
Okay.
story. Good story. If you read it, they're very much open about
All right, guys.
the
so
problems. So,
they're okay.
yeah.
And
But
okay.
here's the other problem.
Okay,
Here's
go
the
ahead.
other thing that's a mess.
Yeah, I want to talk about the PSA test too.
Yeah. The PSA thing. The PSA is an agent that the prostate produces, and over time it produces more of it. And so, in theory, you get that tested, and if you observe it, it will slowly go up over the years.
Now, do you have to go in and ask for the test?
Yeah,
Okay.
you have to ask for it.
So
Your
it's not
doctor-
part of a
Your
physical
doctor
or anything
probably
like that.
won't do it unless you ask, because there's been a recommendation. One of the medical organizations that advises doctors what to do has said, here's the problem. A lot of time the PSA test turns up positive.
Yeah.
It turns up positive, but then it turns out 70% of the time that positive test doesn't mean you have prostate cancer.
Okay.
But the only way to find out is to do a biopsy.
Right.
And the biopsy itself means they're cutting into you, they're doing all these procedures.
Men don't like that.
There's a risk of infection and everything else like that.
Nobody
And-
likes
And
that.
so the idea has been, well, maybe we shouldn't do it. Maybe we're doing it too much. Maybe we're over-treating. The same way with women with breast cancer, with mammograms, that they say, oh, too often you'll be all upset thinking you have breast cancer when it turns out you don't. Same thing with prostate cancer, except there's a newer test. There's a new test using an MRI. So when you have the PSA level that's high, you get the PSA level that's high, and one point several of the guys made was, even if your doctor says you're in the normal range, the key thing is, has it gone up fast? One of them was in the normal range, but he'd gone from like 0.6 to 2.3. It had like tripled.
From the last time he
From the
was-
last time he was there, it had tripled, and his doctor didn't pay attention to that and didn't wave a red flag and say, whoa, your level is normal, but it just tripled.
So first
then
of all,
he stupidly,
when should you get tested? First of all, you said what's the recommendation?
Anytime after you're 40. Anytime after you're 40.
So is that a recommendation?
I think so. It's just what you've got to be aware of. The test itself is not a problem to find your PSA level is high.
It's after.
It's the
what to do
It's the
after.
so what, right?
Okay.
And the new test uses an MRI, and the MRI is apparently much more accurate. So once you come in, the PSA says you may have prostate cancer. You do the MRI, and the MRI is much better at telling you yes you do or no you don't. So you don't have to do the biopsy first.
So are doctors doing this MRI, or is there an insurance
That's
issue
that's
there is
the
with
problem.
everything?
That's the
money,
problem.
money.
Yeah, that's exactly the problem. It's
Yeah.
money, because right now it's a new procedure and insurance companies are not willing to pay for it most of the time. And it costs about $1,800. there to have the MRI done.
Yeah.
Now, you've got a deductible on your insurance anyway that may be higher than that, so you may be paying for these tests no matter what. But the key point is, if you read all this stuff and kind of go, look, it's all confusing. The PSA stuff is a nightmare, and the consequences look like they could be very bad. I just don't want to deal with it. That's exactly the wrong approach.
So you shouldn't say the hell with it.
No,
not
you
a good
should not say
idea.
the hell with it,
And somebody who we were talking about, and I actually heard this morning on Howard Stern, is Ben Stiller. He's talking about prostate cancer, that he was diagnosed with prostate cancer a while back, hadn't talked about it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And Stern was saying, he had contacted him several times feeling like he wanted to talk about it, but he now just felt comfortable, I think 2 years after dealing with it all, and he was a pretty young guy, under 50, I believe, at the time, younger than 50. So this is happening to people younger than 65, somebody we all know. And let's talk about that fear factor again, like you're saying. Don't just toss it aside.
Guys, we're like that. We're guys. We don't want to go to the doctor, but it's something that a lot of people have. And I happen to have a relative that has said he doesn't want to know if he has prostate cancer because heaven forbid he has it.
And it's treatable. It's treatable if you catch it early enough. That's what Ben Stiller was saying. That he was lucky enough to learn that his case was able to be treated.
Well, and it was the whole thing with the PSAs. They didn't exist. That test didn't exist until I think it was the 1980s. Before that, they didn't pick up prostate cancer until it was too late. When they found it, it was like pancreatic cancer is now. By the time they found it, it was too late to do anything. The PSA let them at least kind of go, wait, here's a warning sign. The problem being the warning sign was not the most accurate kind of stuff. So it's only the past 30 years that we've been able to even pick up that you may have it. And
too bad the PSA is not involved in like a yearly physical,
It's just something you can just insist that your doctor do. And
how do people know to do that?
They've got to read about it. Somebody's got to tell them about it.
Read the time.
That's
You
why
gotta
we're
talk
talking
about
to
it.
Steve.
Yeah, you got to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so something you guys need to talk about, do something
And
about.
just so in case women are wondering, no, women don't have a prostate, not an issue.
Right.
You get off on this one.
We have tons of other stuff to deal with. Yeah, I know all about it. Okay, and I want to get in. Yeah, I do, Ellis. Had kids, all of that, many tests that you have to actually insist on too. There's tons of tests women have to insist on and talk with their doctors about, like relating to ovarian cancer, tests like that, because that's another late stage cancer for many women. We could go into a lot more health stories like you do. Let's talk about insurance though. We're going to move on. You mentioned Memorial and this doctor talking to you about prostate cancer. Now, there's another story you did about insurance. Memorial warning some doctors that they haven't been able to renegotiate with United, correct?
Healthcare, right.
Yeah.
Honestly, you're not sure with a story like that. The deadline is the end of October. And United sent a note out to their patients, which they're required to do, to their customers, saying, we don't have a deal yet with Memorial. CHI Memorial sent a note out to their doctor saying we don't have a deal with United, and they're required to do that to notify people. And is this a negotiating tactic? Don't know, but they're down to within 30 days. They're down to about 3.5 weeks. Now, obviously, if you are covered by United Healthcare, and there's only about 5,000 people in the metro area that are, if you are both Parkridge and Erlanger are in your network, so you have other doctors to go to.
Okay, so if you have United, you go to Parkridge or Erlanger.
Or Erlanger, yeah. So there's other people in your network.
And you still have time, because you're saying this is an end of the month decision.
It's end of the month before they'll know for sure. And this is the kind of thing that most of the time, these guys want to work this out.
Okay.
And most of the time they will work it out. You can't swear that they will, but it's just kind of a pay attention just in case.
Right. Well, talking about being scared, a lot of people on social media, which is what I'm looking at for everybody, TFP-wise, people are scared. There's a woman whose husband's being treated for a rare form of cancer at Memorial, so she's very worried, very concerned about this potential.
There are some provisions that would cover continuing care. There are some things that the law has some common sense provisions there that says if you're in the middle of a complicated care procedure, they can't just toss you out on the street or say suddenly you've got to pay $100,000 out of pocket. So you have some protection there if you're in the middle of something.
Okay. Yeah, people are kind of going back and forth on what to do. So right now, hold tight?
I think right now hold tight,
Okay. So there's a lot of fear out there today. We talked about prostate and insurance, and the insurance thing is not ending. We're talking about insurance every week. There's stories about the hike with Blue Cross Blue Shield Tennessee getting rid of it in Memphis and Knoxville and all that, but it's still here. Blue Cross is still here for now.
And we got about a week before we start the Obamacare exchanges again for this year, where people will have to go look for their policy, providing you don't have insurance from your employer. Most people have insurance from your employer. It's not an issue for you. But if you don't, it's that time of year again, so we look and see what the policies are.
When did it actually become Obamacare? Wasn't it really always the Affordable Care Act? And now
it's always been that. It's just when it got into
politics.
politics.
Is it not really Obamacare? That's a name that we've
the
all
Affordable
created.
Care Act.
Right.
Right.
That's, a reporter thing. So
Yeah, true.
yeah. Okay, well thank you for talking with me.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Your candor about and you guys really should read his article we have right here saying fear makes prostate cancer more deadly. Misinformation keeps too many men from getting tested when you do have to ask for that PSA. So read it, and we also have the article about Memorial and United and the negotiation or lack of negotiation at this point. So check that out. Hard subject to talk about, but thanks, man.
Worth it.
Okay,
Yep.
worth it.